So the idea that the ancestors of some people were uh, subject to slavery, and that somehow or other the people that descended from them. I mean, I'm not talking about judging it at all, not from, politically, because I'm not a political person. I have no interest in politics. So all that's going to happen, and that there are reasons why all that is happening, and it will take its course. It will go wherever it must. But what I'm trying to say is that if you are concerned in any way with issues like this, and you wish you weren't, well, why worry about it? Because, the past is an illusion that never happened, and the future is an idea that can only ever happen now in the present moment. So there's no point worried about the future because it doesn't exist, and carrying events from the past into the future to change things in some way is a totally pointless exercise. And the thing is that if you look at it, it's saying is that people of this race may have enslaved people of another race. Well, virtually every race going back in time has been subject to slavery. And the English they were enslaved by the Roman Empire, and later by the Norman invasion in 1066. They became the 10% at the top of the pile, and the Anglo-Saxons who'd lived here for so many, I don't know, 1,000 years or something, they went to the bottom of the pile, and they weren't allowed to do things, or they were controlled. Now, so it's not something peculiar to race. It's not even a racist thing. It's usually something that's based on economics, profiteering, getting somebody to do things for you so you don't have to work. It's all basic stuff. There's no illumination for the soul in being a slave. But what it does teach, of course, is the value of freedom. So that's how this universe is an opposite. It's the opposite of the world, the higher dimensional world, and it's the opposite in the sense that everything has to be examined through its shadow. So the shadow of freedom is control, or slavery, or prison, or anything that prevents you from being free is teaching you a lesson in freedom. And the reason for why it works like that here is for the simple reason that if you are in a state of absolute love, oneness, joy, and bliss, and you want to understand something, you're not going to make much progress there, because the meaning is always going to be oneness. Whatever happens there, it's all going to be oneness and love and joy and bliss and so on. So it's oh well, better go away somewhere and do a course. So you do a course is a life on Earth. In our case, it's a session in the game. So you come to Earth, you live your life, and you make your mistakes, and you do your good deeds, hopefully, and at the end of it all, your soul essence, you will hope, has benefited from it, and it's going to benefit no matter what happens. But it's simply that if you only experience bad things or hard things or difficult things, that's a hard lesson. To actively do good is a much better way of evolving and learning, because it's less painful. I'm not saying it can't be painful, because it can be, but it's on the whole, it's like you're walking with the flow. Whereas if you do it the hard way, you're walking against the flow, you're swimming against the current, and that isn't always a good way to do it. But we are so lost, we're so far removed from knowing who and what we are, that we don't see it like that. We get caught up in the game because it's so realistic. The drama is so real and exciting at times, or boring, or whatever it is. It seems real. It's a big soap. So you're caught up in a big soap. So so if you take the slavery issue, uh, but virtually every country, every race, every society, every community at some time or other has been involved with it. And it's virtually nothing to do with race. So I'm not saying it doesn't come into the equation, because there are people who are racist, and they obviously exercise or exploit those situations to express these feelings, but they are totally negative and won't get anybody anywhere. It's of no benefit, because the main thing about this dimension is that because it's value based, we put a value on everything. We put values for or against other people based on difference. So instead of looking for the similarities, what we have in common, it is the natural reaction of entities, us, on this dimension, to see the differences all the time. So you have to make a real effort to see the similarities, and it involves compromise. But there we are. That's why it is difficult. And the other thing is, we are not our bodies. So we are not this body, and those people in our race who came before us, who have passed on their DNA, it's like pass the parcel. They are not your relatives, not in a real sense. Your relatives here now, the people in your family who are alive, are not your relatives in a fundamental, deeper sense. They only are your relatives in the physical sense, in terms of genetic connections. But that's purely material. It's just a pattern of information. Passing on information doesn't make you the child of your parents. You are a soul, and they, as your parents, have given you an opportunity to inject your soul into a body on this dimension. But you're not. They don't own you. They haven't made you. They've made the body, or been involved in making the body, but that's not you. So when we pass over and we meet our relatives in the spirit world, they're not our relatives anymore, because there is no DNA to connect us. See, but there are spiritual families. There are groupings of souls who tend to work together and come back in various combinations and in different roles. So, somebody could be your mother in one life and your son in another, or any relative, any friend, anybody that you have any connection with, is possibly a member of your soul group, your spiritual family. That family is far more significant than the physical family. Right. So your ancestors really have no connection with you. Not in the sense of any deep spiritual meaning. They are simply people who had the pattern of DNA that you've got, or some of it, and then passed it on. That doesn't mean much, not really. There's no value. That's of no value except here, because we put value on everything. Now, what happens then is that the souls that do things in one generation may come back to be the victims of a similar type of action by others in another time period. So, if you're upset that some slave owner owned your great great grandmother or grandfather or whatever, and you're resentful about that, it could have been your soul that was the one who owned them. You might have been in that body at the time, or it. There's no way of knowing. We are just consciousness, and when we come here, we become a particular consciousness. So, because particular means special, but it also means made of particles. So that's why we are particular. We are particular beings in a particular body made of particles, particular objects. But in a general sense, consciousness is about meaning, and the only real meaning that's of any use or value is love, and that's what we're here to express. We come here as an opportunity to bring light into the darkness, and if we don't do that, then we have wasted our time being here, and we've been doing everything the hard way, and when it could all be so much easier. And being a billionaire, making lots of money, controlling lots of people, causing untold harm and conflict will be particularly damaging to your evolution as a being in eternity in the longer part of the cycles of existence. There's nothing to gain by doing that, by being that. Anyway, there we are. That's what I wanted to comment on, and I hope that that's helpful, because the thing is that the motives for why we do things may not count while we're here, but they may count when we are reviewing our lives in the spirit world after we've been here. Because when we look at things, we want to know why we did things, what we did. But the important thing really is that whatever we do because we are who we are. And who we are, when you are an infinite being in the light and the oneness, and you want to understand yourself, you cannot do that directly. So you do that indirectly. At first, you do it by becoming what you are not. So everything about you, your faults, failings, and whatever else, this is not really who you are at all. In fact, it's the opposite. So it's like, we learn about heat by experiencing cold. One way. And it's so, we learn about goodness by experiencing its lack, which is evil or bad or whatever, something unfortunate. And so there is no evil as such, really. It is simply the absence of love. And such things exist in the world. Bad things happen because we have free will. So life presents us with actions to undertake. We undertake those actions on the basis of our evolution, our personal evolution, our spiritual evolution. And then we learn, when we come back, we analyze those lives. We look at every action, every consequence, and we learn the meaning of things. We learn the meaning of who we are, what we are. And we learn the meaning of the all those things that work for or against oneness. That's what it all boils down to in the end. The good is anything that it works with oneness and harmony. The bad is anything that works against it. And even that isn't straightforward when we're faced with moral dilemmas, where to do one thing helps one person, to do another thing harms somebody else. All these things, they are all moral dilemmas, and they are deliberately created by consciousness to test us, because in the end we can only do the best that we are able to. But free will means in the long term, it is a trap, because it means that you are free to act, but you are, because of who you are and what you are simply going to fulfill the role that the universe has created for you. And if you've been put here to do something bad or negative to help a higher purpose, you can say no. You have the choice to go against your programming. You don't have to do bad things or controlling things, or you don't have to give way to forces that seem overwhelming, and simply because that's how you're made, because you are something much greater than what you are made as. You are made what you're made from. That's what's more important. And you, if everybody said, I'm not going to do what they want me to do, I'm going to do what's right, this whole pack of cards that we've built could collapse at any time. So bear in mind that because the quantum data that describes this dimension is hierarchical in nature, it means we are pre-programmed to kowtow to hierarchies. Whether we're up the top of the tree or the bottom of the tree, we accept that this is how it is. Some people are more important than us, and we are more important than other people. Well, we're not, because all we are is a pattern of consciousness. No one pattern of consciousness is better than any other patch of consciousness. So, it's all pointless to worry about or accept or believe status. Serves no purpose. And that's the kind of thinking that we need to come here. The other thing, of course, is that by coming here, we experience loss. Now, that is quite a new concept. And that's what makes this dimension, because we're in quantum time when we're born, and when we die, our time ends. Well, quantum time is on or off. It's a binary system, which means that the moment of conception is specific in the pattern of time and space, and the moment of our death, which it tends to be created at conception. If you think of it as a circle, then the point where alpha omega meet, where beginning and end meet, that's where you are, and you're not. It's the bit in between, which is we call life here, is really the death, because you effectively have to die to everything good to come here to experience everything that is not so good. Anyway, so what we learn here is death. There's no separation in the oneness, but here everything is separated into individual units of one. So in state of separation, this is what allows the universe to get such a unique perspective on itself, because each one of us offers the universe a unique perspective on itself. That the consciousness is learning about itself through us, through our eyes, through our senses. Now that's wonderful, really, when you think about it. But it means that we experience loss in a way that we couldn't otherwise do, because you come into this existence, you come in, and there are others, and you spend time with them, and whatever it is that you have together, they die. There's a great loss in your life. And because we are materialistic, and we think that many people believe that when you die, you die. For them, the death in the family or a friend or anybody is a terrible tragedy, because it works on two levels. One is they're removed from your life, so you suffer from that. And the other thing is that it reminds you that they've died, they've gone, they don't exist anymore, which of course is nonsense because we're eternal beings, part of the oneness. We're not really separate. We are just the oneness. I say just, but we're everything become finite, offering a perspective, and that's it. So we die and we age. And now, before we got into this state, we were in a more timeless wave dimension where time didn't happen like it does here. We chose we wanted to be born, and we chose when we wanted to go. It was an elective process. You could come, work, do your work. So that's why some of these characters in the Bible were said to live for 800 years or something, or 1,000 years, Methuselah and all that. It's because in those days, those times, beings were long lived. They weren't like us, 70 years. Well, I mean, borrowed time, but anyway, that's how it works. Anyway, there we are. I think I've rambled on long enough. I hope that somebody somewhere gets some benefit from these thoughts. Thank you very much.